I've been using these two items for some years, making rigs, storing hooks, storing line, taking them all over the country with me, and that is, whoop, trying not to drop it, my rig board and my multi organiser. Now, as good as they are, as they have been, serve me well, it's time to upgrade. We've gone for the rig station. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you what I'm going to put in my rig station, what I'm going to try and achieve with it, my rigs, how I go about it, all the little key features within the rig station as well to help you, make you a bit more organised. That's my aim for next year, to be a little bit more, or for this year, sorry, be a bit more organised, keeping everything in touch, keep everything intact, and just be a little bit more organised within my fishing, because I'm a bit all over the place. As if I open them two, you'd see it, just chaos, hooks everywhere, line everywhere, bits missing, smash floats, elastic bits that have trimmed off, just everything. Got Mally catching a few fish on a maggot feeder there. But in this video, I'm going to show you everything I'll go about it, all little key features. So let's get stuck into it. Right, so here's the new rig station. As you can see, nice and compact. So it's a lot less size than what I was talking about than my rig board. So first of all, I want to mention a few little things. It's got a nice little handle, non-slip pads on the back as well. So when it's on your bench, it's not going to rattle around and slide off if you give it a bit of tension. Just keeps it nice and secure, and it's not going to damage or mark your work surface or worktop or table, whatever you're using on it. Also, nice big clip on the side, so it keeps everything compact and tight. It's actually quite hard to undo. Got to give it a bit of a pull, but that's what I want. I don't want it flipping open, and say if I've got a few floats inside on my line, I just don't want it flying everywhere. So nice little strong clip on the side, and as you can see, it opens out into a nice little masterpiece there. So what I'm going to do with it, I've got some bits and bobs of how I'm going to fill it up, because obviously I haven't used this yet. So I've got some stuff, I'm going to fill it up. You can see what I've got in my kit, see what I use. We can go through everything, a few of the key elements of the rig station and how it can benefit you from like your older sort of rig board type. Now, the first thing that comes to mind is the actual screws. So the screws of this is I can literally clamp my line down, so I'm not going to pierce the hole in yet, but when I make a rig I actually will. But you can unscrew these, slide it through the gap there. You can see you can use it either reflow, power or AccuPower line, so it just keeps it nice and tight and nice and accurate. The last thing you want to do is when you're making your rigs is it's slipping and sliding everywhere. You're going to be putting shot on, you're trying to be nice and precise, and you want to be nice and efficient when you're working with your rigs. So them screws there, they might seem a little they're just the screws where you screw it in, but there's an advantage of it. I tighten it down, keeps it nice and tightly clamped. Now, I'm going to leave the centre bit for last. So first of all, you've got a few compartments here. So a nice larger compartment there for storing some bits. There's 3 on this side, and then you've got slots for your line. So I will fill it up in a minute, but you've got slots for your line there. But also one little nice element is when you're doing your shot, I haven't got many shot in here, I've just tipped some shot in just because I don't want to have too much in case I do have an accident. But I've just got a few shots. I've got 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s of all shot. Now, this just keeps it nice and tacked in area, so when I'm doing rigs I don't have to like tip a few out in an area, chase it around the board, put some in your mouth. You can just have it there, use your pliers, pick them up and dot them on your where you need to. So it's nice and secure with that thing. Just make sure it's on, because the last thing you want to do is your shot going everywhere. That's why I put a few in as well. I think that's a nice little tip. Don't just think just because you've got a big area you need just to fill it straight away. Literally just put a few shot in there and then top it up from time to time when you're making your shot. Now, the next one I'm going to look at is there's like a nice little foam. So that's the first half of it. So say that's your bottom of your tray. So that's where all your bits and bobs, your line, your shot's going to go. So you're not tipping it up and stuff. It's got like a nice foam pad. So actually, it's like a bit of a Blue Peter style thing. I've actually got some floats in there. So I can literally push my float in. So say if I'm going on a session, right, I need to make a 4x10, a 4x12, and I need a power float as well. I can keep them in there and I can see how it's going. I can keep them nice and tidy. Now, if you have a little prep room or a table at home and you leave it set up, and you think, right, well, you've come back from your session, you've come back for your match, and you think, right, well, I need to make a few rigs, and you just put them in there, a little reminder, and it just keeps it nice and safe. Instead of like launching it on there in your trays or on your thing and it's dropping on the floor, it just keeps everything nice and efficient. So that's another thing which my rig board hasn't really got. It was just a piece of wood for making rigs. So that's like a nice little foam area, and then you're seeing trying to get the magnets out of it. as you've seen, there's a nice little compartment. So magnetic, so it sticks in, not going to rattle around. You can keep anything in here, your floats, your shot, your bits and bobs, maybe like some silicone, some stuff like that. But take them pins out, because I'll talk about them in a sec. But you can see there, I can keep anything in there. I've got some stickers in there which I haven't used yet. You can keep a shot in there. So when I put like, I can take all these out, think right, I'm going on a festival, I've got all my prep done, but I just want to take just in cases, nice little compartment there. You can just literally pop it in, you can hear that clicking, not going to come out, it's nice and sturdy. So you've got like another little compartment, but this will probably be for when you're working your stuff like that. So, because obviously you're going to fold it up the top, so the last thing you want to do is rattle it around. It's a little compartment for stuff, but also you get a few little pins in there, so you can have the pins. Now, this is what I want to talk about now, is the centre of the board. So this is where you're going to make your rigs, where the magic's going to happen, in the centre. You've got all your compartments there. This is where it's going to be. Now it's got a pin at the top and then your pin for your loop at the bottom. So ideally, you'll see when we make a rig, I'm going to do that because it'll make more sense when we make a rig. But you put your loop there, it comes up to there, and now this is a really important aspect of the pin there. At the top end, you want your line coming down, so everything's straight down the middle. But there's also different areas and extra pins where if you need a different sort of shotting pattern, a bit longer, you can add pins in certain situations for your type of fishing. Now I just think I'm going to keep it dead simple, straight down the middle. But like I said, them pins are in there for people that want to change it up, want to mix it up and keep it going. Now it's got that nice little groove at the top, so ideal when my loop's going to lock into that, and when it's pulled against it, it's all going to be tight. Now it's ideal because it's at the top. Last thing I want to do is drag it on the bottom and me having to pick my line up when I'm trying to put my shot on. Makes it a little bit difficult. But with that, it's like nice and high, so it's going to be a nice little area. You can just put your shot on nice and quick. It's just going to make you nice and efficient. So first look at it, it's going to make my life a little bit easier. So let's get stuck into how we go about just filling it up, what we're going to put in, why we're putting it in as well. So first, I'm literally going to chuck it everywhere. First off, we've got the line. Now, you might see I've got two different types of line here. Now, this can be used also for tying hook lengths, so I can lock that down. I can use my hook tie and keep everything tight, keep it nice and neat. So what I'm going to do, the only really hook length I tie with a spade in this sort of winter time is what I'm trying to load it up for now, is an 010 AccuPower, just because it's nice and supple, nice and soft. I don't want to really go any lighter. I do a lot of F1 fishing, F1 and carp fishing in the winter, especially here at Weston, and I don't need anything lighter than that, so that's my go-to. Nice little line, ties up lovely, so that's going in. So you can see that's going in there. Now, I've got a selection of lines here, all from my main lines. This is going to cover me throughout my fishing, from summer, winter, autumn, spring. I've got it all here. Now, you may be thinking, well, why are you stocking it up at this time? I just want to get it filled, because in case I have one of those spur of the moment things, in the springtime I want to get ready for summer, I've got it all in there. I've got it all compact, I can keep it down, I can store it dead easy in my tackle safe, dead easy in there, it's nice, or I can put it in my van, or I can put it in my garage, wherever I need it to. So the first one I'm going to put in, 013, nice like main line for sort of like shallow fishing here, and maybe fishing for silvers as well. I do a bit of that in the winter time and early spring, but I feel like a nice little lighter main line just makes your float sit a lot nicer. The last thing you want to do is your line dragging. Now don't be wrong, 015 would be perfect, but I just like a nice 013 main line, dead simple, dead effective. Now 015, like I said before, with all my bottom fishing, so my F1 maggots, me sort of pellet fishing in the winter time, I'm going to use an 015, so get that stuck in there. Now probably the OG of all my summer fishing and bagging fishing is a 017 main line, so that's what I go to mainly. And then we're going up to the big sizes now, which is when fishing gets really exciting, when you can get these on, is 019 and 021. Now I will have an 024 if you're fishing for carp in the edge, but I don't feel like I'm going to be making loads and loads of rigs of that. But 019, 021 we're going to be making our carp rigs for the summer, nice and strong, nice and durable, and it's not going to let you down. So that's what's going in there. You see now I've got a nice selection of lines, it's building up nicely. Now you heard me speak about shots, so I've got some nice shot in there, but also I'm going to use stots, because there's two different variations, stots and shots. Now when I'm locking shot on the line, I like to use shot. I'm not going to be moving it. You'll see when we make the rig, I'm going to make an F1 maggot, just probably the best rig for Western pulls this time of year. So I'm going to make an F1 maggot, and the last thing I want to do is move my shot around. I want to keep it all in position. I know my shotting pattern, I'm confident in it, so that's what I'm going to do. But when I'm fishing shallow, fishing can change. You might want to slow your bait down, you might want to speed it up, you might want to pull it down into a bulk. When you're fishing in the edge sort of thing, you're fishing with bulks. And when I'm fishing with bulks, I think you can't beat the good faithful Stotts. Now, these are going in because there's a few reasons why. The 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, they're just your, if you're moving around, your nice shallow fishing, they're going to go in. Now, I should have really have a little container, make them a bit more neat, but I didn't have one, so I'm going to put them in. But then also, you've got these two here. You might think, well, why have you got 12s and 13s? But they're the ideal trimmer shot. Now, trimmer shot is essentially, there's a lot of, I've got a few videos on YouTube, shotting patterns for Preston floats. And I like to say like a 4x12 takes 7 number 10s, but also it might just take number 13 if you want to dot it down for one day. Or you think, right, well, I want to take a number 10 off and then put a number 12 on just because I need a bit more bristle showing because they're light. Now, that's the thing with bristles. Everyone's a little bit different. I like a little bit more bristle because I can see that sharp indication and I can see what sort of bite I'm fishing it. Some people like it dotted down, they strike at everything. So that's personal preference, but these are a must-have in your armoury. The 12 and 13s, yes, they're small, but they just give you that little edge. On them harder days when you want to dot your float right down, you see them little, like tiny little dinks on the float. So they're a must-have that's going in the rig station. Now, you may think, why I've got a permanent marker? Well, there's a few different reasons why I've got a permanent marker going in here. Is first of all, if I need a black float, I can literally colour in my bristle, black float, done. But also, what it allows you to do, if you've got a set shotting pattern which you need, you can go along in intervals. So say like I'm going to do intervals there of 5 centimetres, I can literally go along, I can just dab my line at 5 centimetres each time. And what it allows me to do, instead of just going down to my rig and going, right, that's in line with 20, I know I can see a little black mark on the line and I can just put my shot on dead quick. So that's a really vital bit of a kit in your armoury for that sort of rig station. Nice permanent marker. Good old faithful loop tyre, just creating a nice neat loop. Now, the thing you want to do is create uniform loops along with everything you're fishing with. So uniform on your rigs, nice and uniform all the way along. So when you're putting it on, you've not got a massive loop, a small loop, a big loop. It's all the same size, dead simple. Now, you've heard me speak about these before. Now, these are an ideal tool. Now, you probably need a set of these in your rig station and your set of in your box, because one of the reasons why is because that little device there in the middle. So I'll put it to the camera, that little device there, taking shot off, it just makes it so much easier. If you make a mistake or put the wrong shot on, or you think, right, I need to have a little bit more bristle showing, you can just literally line it up, put the shot in the groove, push it down, pops off. But also, it's got nice flat edges, so when you're putting your shot on, you're not going to squeeze it and cause crimps and damage your shot. It's just going to make it nice and secure, but also it's got nice little lever, so when you finish with your shot, the pliers, they're not going to spring open and bounce around. Also, you're going to need a good set of scissors, just a nice little dinky set, nice and sharp, so when you're chopping your line, making sure, what I like to do when I make my rig, you'll see in a minute, I'll chop my line just so I've got a nice neat cut for when I put all my silicone on. And that obviously brings me over to the silicone. I've got 0.5, that does mainly most of my fishing, from my wide stem floats to my carbon stem floats, for anything from say an F1 pellet, F1 maggot, up to a carp pellet, or even a power or a kerry. That's going to not let me down, and they can go in there. So that's the hooter just gone. So what we're doing about this is now, I'm thinking, right, well, I'm going to make a rig. So how do you go about making a rig on the rig station? Dead simple. So first of all, I'm going to unscrew my pin. Now I'm going to make a rig. Say, what should I pick? So I'm going to pick the float, F1 maggot, 4x12, the staple, probably the best rig. If anyone said to me, what's your go-to rig at Western Pools, it'd be a 4x12 F1 maggot, because the fishing ranges from like 4 foot to maybe 6 foot deep. So the Western doesn't really tend to catch the wind much, and in the winter time, and it's a lot of fish. There's a lot of eyed, F1s, carp, skimmers, everything watches your bait. It goes very clear of the lakes, so you need a nice slow float just to keep your flow, but a nice little dinky float as well. But that's probably the go-to float we're going to use. So first of all, what main line do we need? So we need an 015. So literally all this is just brand new, so I'm literally going to pull it out from the pack. We're going to just stab a little hole in there. So I'm going to put that through and literally going to hold it tight, wind it all the way in. It takes a while at first, but I'll give you a little tip so you don't have to take it off when you're doing your rigs at the end. So you can see it's still spinning now. If I start tugging on that line, it's still spinning, so really clamp it down. You can see now I'm pulling on that line. I'm literally pulling on it and I'm not going to get any movement, so I can pull it and it's dead thinking. I need a little bit more line, so just pull a little bit more line off. So that's locked in position now, nice and neat. Now, one thing you can use these compartments for is a bit of rubbish. The last thing you want is leaving line about, shot about, leftover stuff about, so you can just keep a nice little compartment for your rubbish. So I'm literally going to keep this compartment here for my rubbish, and I'm literally going to snip a clean end, so no, I'm starting on a fresh. So what you can do as well is I'm going to grab a silicone, put that in there. Now, I notice people sometimes they don't have big enough silicone on the floats. Now, when I'm fishing shallow, I like a small piece of silicone because I feel it can affect your float going up and down. Because we're fishing with a deck rig today, I'm literally going to chop three pieces, 2 identical, so 2 probably, I don't know what, 2 centimetres, and then the last one I'm going to give it double the size just because I want to hang the bit over the end. So pop that back in there. I should have really done here as I prepared earlier, but so basically I've got my rig, I've got my silicone ready. All I'm going to do is thread the line for the eye, and then I just like to hold the float and then grab all your silicone. Now I like to do it, put all my silicone on in one hit. So put the first one on so that my float's not sliding round. Put that next one on. Now what you find is when you put your silicone on, you can damage your line a little bit. So the last thing you want to do is start I just like keep a nice little inch piece there, so I can just chop that off in a minute, keep everything nice and fresh. So you see there, for example, that when I pull that line now, that line's a little bit damaged at the end. You see it there. So all I'm going to do is just pull it down slightly, so I've got some fresh line. Literally get my scissors again, chop it off so we've got a clean end again. Now I'm going to sort my silicone out so I want it in the right place. So I like it just below where the paint finishes on the body. It just gives me, it's not too tight to the float so it doesn't cut in. If you do catch a big fish, you can put a bit of pressure on. If it cuts in your float, you can damage it, make it sink, and you have a bit of a nightmare with shot. So I just like to give it 1/2 inch gap, and then literally it couldn't be any simpler. One in the middle, and then one at the end with a tiny bit overhanging. So we've got the rig on the line now, which is dead. It's the ideal part. Just going to move it up a set. Now to time a loop, couldn't be any simpler. I like just literally fold it over itself so you create a loop, and then literally push it together so it creates like a loop there and a loop on the side, and then literally with your hook tire, put that big loop on, spin it round twice, and then put the loop which is furthest away back through, pull it tight, wet it up, give it a little pull, and then what you can do is you can just trim it. All cack-handed. You can trim it so where you want it to be. So I like a tiny little tag end. I don't like much coming off it. Tiny little tag end. Back in there. So now this is where it gets interesting, because pop everything back just so it's nice and safe. So I'm going to pull it back. So I'm going to put my loop in my little gap. But as you can see, it's all slack at the minute. So what I'm going to do is going to push that around my little pin there. So it's gone a lot tighter, but I feel like I want a bit more tension just so I can put my shot in the right place. So undo that, give it a little spin, and you can see my float moving there with the tension. Literally tighten that back down. You can see it pinging round, so I'm going to get my float out of the way at the top. Now this pin's got nothing on it, so it's not going to damage your line, just nice and straight in a line. So you heard me mention before, Now, with this shotting pattern, I like intervals of probably 3 or 4 inches away, depending on how deep I'm fishing. So that's 4 inches there. So from 0 to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now, I literally want to do intervals along this. So I want to create like 3-inch intervals. So literally, I'm just going to, I know I'm going to put one on the top of that line there. So probably 3 inches is going to be just that below that mark there. It's a little mark. Next one. Next one. Now remember, I only need 7, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that'll be quite hard to see on camera because it's a tiny black mark. But what you'll see, I don't know if you'll be able to, you won't be able to see it if I put that. The tiny black mark. So what I'm going to do is I need 7 number 10s to shot this nice. So I'm going to open up my tray. Number 10's there. Literally, I'm going to slide them down. Just give them a little pinch so they're not locking in position. Shut the shot up. And dead easy. So you can just literally see how efficient you can be. Just go along. That's one there. You've got 3 now. This always throws me off now. Now if you wanted to, you can mark them on your rig station as well, where you want your shot, depending on, like on the old rig board we had it all in proportion. So just nice evenly spaced apart, 3 to 4 inches apart, nothing too dramatic. So if you do, shot does come off, you can see where the little mark is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 more. That's about right. When we get to there, it's going to be close to the float. So you can see now, dead easy, dead simple. Just cover that back up so you're not going to make a mess. So we've got a nice strung out shotting pattern, so it means the bait's going to fall nice and slowly. Now one thing you can do, it makes it dead easy for putting it on a winder, which I actually haven't got, which I didn't think to get, but I will do in a minute because I made my rig for tomorrow. But instead of taking the whole line off and then stripping it out what you think you need, I literally I'm nearly 6 foot tall, so in theory I feel like that's nearly 6 foot. So what I'm going to do is going to do an arm's length, so there, and then I'm going to do another half. So another half, just so I've got a little bit extra, so if it's a little bit deeper I want a bit longer line. Now with the end tag, I'm not going to use the loop side because I'm always going to change this. I'm always going to shorten my rig down, so I just literally spin it round, make a loop, little figure of 8 loop, just pull it tight. Just bite the tag end off. I should have really cut with my scissors, but I just make it a nice big loop, because the last thing you want to do is make a nice little loop which you're going to cut off anyway, because you can see it's quite long, this rig, as where 4x12 ain't going to be that long, so we're going to be chopping it down, making our lash nice and small. So probably say like a lash like that, or a pole between the pole tip and the float, or a little bit longer. You're not going to have it really long. So that's the rig, nice little shotting pattern. That's the rig station. The best thing about this is now I can literally, if I need to, I can literally just spin that round, push that in, fold that up, put that away and get off to the bank. So it's an ideal thing for your, say, your festival fishing, or just having it at home, nice and tackled. It's nice and stored away. You can keep anything you want in there, a few hooks, hook tire, but it's like you say, it's nice and dinky, nice and secure, and I can just put that away and I know I'm not going to come to it and everything's going to be everywhere. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you want to see any future videos, don't forget to comment in the below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.